Hello, everyone. This week we're going to be talking about why not wanting to bother anyone is the fastest way to stay single. I know it comes from a good intention. We don't want to bother. We don't want to displease. We don't want to be disrespectful. We don't want to hurt. We don't want to offend. See the common theme? We don't want. And that's the energy that people feel that we don't want. We don't want to connect. We would rather keep the peace. We don't want to experience a shared feeling or a shared moment. We want to control it. And we want to control ourselves. There's this hyper discipline on ourselves when it comes to the idea of how we should be for other people. Maybe for you, it's this sense of responsibility that you put onto yourself, this hat saying, I am in charge of your misery or your happiness based on my assumption of myself in this moment and my assessment of my every move and my every word. Does that lead to an exciting life? I want to talk about this today because ultimately I believe it is restricting to live a life with the core feeling of I don't want to. Always looking out for the outcomes that we want to avoid. Always trying to control situations. I believe that as humans, we have a birthright to experience life with fun, with exploration. We don't have to assume responsibility for everything anymore. So the purpose of this video is essentially to open that conversation, and if anything resonates, that's great, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. So I wrote a couple things. We're going to start with the assumption behind not wanting to bother, which is that you are a bother, and that you must consciously avoid showing that to people by making sure that you're doing the right thing. There's this assumption that there's a right and wrong thing. And ultimately that dehumanize the people in front of you and yourself. Why? Because people become a concept. They're not their unique individual self anymore. They become the idea of a date, the idea of a woman. What would they want from me? There's so many assumptions made, yet very little questions asked. We don't even reality test that sense of responsibility anymore by asking, hey, is it too much for you if I share something personal? We don't even ask and test to verify that our behaviors are actually beneficial to the other. We assume most of the time. And this is what makes this whole thing of not wanting to bother not only shrinking for you, but for the other party, because they become the idea of a person, and you're committing to that concept rather than to be curious about who's in front of you. And ultimately, I believe that when that's the case and we minimize someone's humanity to the concept of what they represent to us, in this case could be a date, a woman, we miss the opportunity to deeply connect, because we oftentimes also are a concept to ourselves. The reason we see people that way is because we see ourselves that way, I assume. When we see ourselves as boxes to check, and based on our gender, based on our age, based on where we're born, what should we have accomplished by that time, and we're always in doing mode, that's the relationship we have with ourselves. We're not very deep in the discovery of our own needs, our own emotional world, our own intellectual world. There's things to accomplish, there's things to do, and we're always in that performance, go mindset. And what seems to matter is always the result and not very much the process. The goal of achieving those things is what really matters, rather than figuring out who is it that will be that person and getting curious about who's in front of us rather than hoping and wishing that they are the archetype of woman that we have envisioned. So that very lack of intimacy with oneself, I mean, if you don't know how to get deep with yourself and how to take care of your own needs and how to make yourself shine because you deserve to, how can you connect with someone on that level? And that's where a lot of people overextend themselves. It starts very innocently. We just don't want to bother. And then we become committed to being someone's therapist somehow. And then we take on someone's needs because we can do it for other people, but not for us. In a lot of cases, that's how it starts. I don't know how to have compassion for myself, but I'll have it for other people. I'll learn to have it for other people. And so that person starts to take, and we give, and we think that finally we have a purpose. Because now we're not only not bothering, but we're actively creating, actively helping. But what we don't realize is that if that person ever walks away from our lives, then our whole sense of identity is challenged because it depended on that person being there to be there. So sometimes we don't even realize that this is out of our league and that we're not fitted for the task and that we're overextending ourselves until it is too late. And it's never too late to realize that you are overextending yourself and walk away or recenter or express how you feel about it. But that's the very challenge. If your core belief is that you don't want to bother anyone, it becomes harder and harder as time goes on to speak up for yourself in the case that you do bond with someone. And we'll talk about the kind of people that are attracted, by the way, to people who don't want to be a bother. And you'll see it's not the jackpot. I wrote here too that your time is spent concealing, hiding, and thinking rather than feeling, experiencing in a state of being present, which is easy to connect to. And this is why people talk about, I wish I could be a kid again. I believe it's because when we're kids, we're present. There's very little worries, or if any at all. We are in nature and we're looking at the butterflies and everything around us, and we're in a wonder, childlike state that is still available to us at any age if we allow ourselves to feel, and it really starts there. But when we're focused on not bothering, and I hope no one is bothered by me, we're always on the lookout and we are reactive and we take the blame and we feel guilt. And so that very capacity of feeling present and experiencing life and not taking it as a burden or a responsibility isn't so accessible anymore, because you only have so much brain power. You have to see your brain as some sort of CPU or computer, and there's only so many informations you can plug on there. And yes, thinking takes a lot of energy. When you are overthinking, you may feel like you've done nothing because nothing in front of your eyes have been accomplished. But it is genuinely tiring and it demands a tremendous amount of brain power and energy, which drains you furthermore. So you have to be careful with that. Every single second that is spent concealing, hiding, and thinking rather than feeling is energy being expended against yourself. You're spending your time shrinking yourself, making yourself small for other people to be comfortable. And sometimes we're just so used to it, like I said in my previous video, that we think that's what makes us happy because we don't know anything else. And that's what I hope to accomplish with this video. It's to show you the other side of the coin, so that if you haven't felt genuine happiness and a genuine sense of completion yet in your connections, in your social life, in your relationships, just know that the other side of the coin is available. And whenever you are ready to flip it, everyone will be excited for you. And by everyone, I mean me, and I mean the people that are bound to meet you in the future. Because you haven't met everyone that's gonna love you just yet. So Our energy, when I feel something around you, that's what bond us. That's what allows us to connect. It is not going to be my thoughts. Certainly not. And it's certainly not going to be what I talk about. And it might sound counterintuitive because, well, we connect by speaking. But talking with someone that you're attracted to or that you feel a strong chemistry with is an excuse to spend more time in that energy field. It's not really that we're trying to find the answer to World War II or that we're trying to have a deep conversation about math equation. We are wanting to spend more time together. And the conversation is the excuse. The setting in which we meet is the excuse. What is really happening is that we are enjoying how our energies are being uplifted. Maybe we are laughing together. Maybe it just feels right. There's something in the energy field that just clicks and that makes us feel alive, and we want more of it. That's really what makes someone attracted to you. And you have your own aura and you have your own energy field. I'm not telling you that you have to be a certain way to be attractive to other people per se here. But all I'm saying is that when you are always in your head, you are disconnected from the very thing that makes people attracted to you. And then the people that are attracted to people that emanate close to nothing or a lot of anxiety or fears or doubts, we'll talk about in a minute. You're not hitting the jackpot with those people. Let's just be clear. Because people that have the energy that you would be looking for to be energized and to be on the same level and to uplift each other, they can't connect with you through the thoughts. It's weak and it almost feels uneasy and unnatural. The best example I can give you about this is when someone is lying to your face. Their words are being used to communicate something that is meant to suit you, the lie, if they're lying in your best interest. But in your spirit, you feel that something is off. Something is wrong. It's not genuine. So here's the thing. When you're saying, yes, I'm ready to find love, I'm ready to connect with people, and you show up and you're all up in your head, people sense that, and there's an uneasiness because there's a disconnect, a clear disconnect from the intention that's being stated and the energy that is behind it. It's not dishonest on purpose. Most of the time, we're not fully aware that we're doing these things. But this is why I'm making this video. The message that is being sent is that as a man, you are afraid of your own self. And that doesn't allow other people to rely on you the way that you ultimately want. Because when you're trying to damage control and not bother, you're taking responsibility, which is a wonderful and beautiful quality. However, in that case, there's nothing of value yet to feel responsible over. And if everything matters to you, then nothing really matters ultimately, and you'll be flinching at every little thing. If you can't connect with your own self, we don't feel that we're getting the full picture of what we're getting into. There's always that uneasiness of, I feel like there's something that's not clear. And the lack of clarity is one of the reasons why sometimes we get ghosted. Or sometimes people tell us they're very interested with their words, but then their actions show otherwise. I will repeat that for you. The message that you send in that confusion is that as a man, you are afraid of your own self for some reason. And that does not allow others to feel comfortable in your presence. But here's the positive. Because you take on that sense of responsibility and damage control early on, and maybe just impulsively because you're not aware of these tendencies, just know that it can be reoriented. And ultimately, when you do learn to feel comfortable with yourself and you do tap into who is it that I am at the core, then we can use that sense of responsibility in the proper context. Just know that everything about you is not good or bad or wrong. It's just misused and can be reoriented. And that is what I do in my practice with my clients. They come to me as they are. We discover everything that's running the program, the computer, everything that seems to be behind the surface, and we just package things in a way that works for them specifically and that empowers them without changing who they are to the core. Okay, so when people feel that you are being responsible for every little thing and you don't even know them yet and you already take on that role, it's like, okay, well, you do that for everyone? Is this not of value to you? This part of you is not something that you value? You're just gonna start to feel responsible for anything and everything? And understand the preciousness of that part of you and learn to direct it where it is deserved and where it matters and where you get fulfillment, and ultimately you don't shrink yourself. It's not because you're trying to not bother, but it's because you're not even trying, period. You won't be even trying at that point. You're not trying, you're doing. You are being that way. And now instead of not bothering anyone, you can just be responsible for everything. And you can say straight up, I take responsibility for almost everything. I'm that way. Tell me if it's too much and tell me when I'm overstepping, because I just like the people around me to be safe, to be comfortable, and I like to support them and elevate them. See how it's the same thing? We started from not wanting to bother, I don't want to hurt your feelings, to fully embodied, flipping the coin, hardcore, to hey, this is me, this is what I do. Tell me when I overstep, because I feel responsible for a lot of things and I like it that way. We can work around the things that are running you so that you end up running them. And your emotions and your sense of self too. But that will be another video for another day. The only case in which it makes sense to withhold your energy is when you feel unsafe with someone or you just know they are not up to your standards. They're not respectful, they're not kind, they're not interesting, they overstep, maybe their humor is despicable. In that case, don't let it go all the way so that you end up being in contact with those people. Try to detect the signals as fast as possible and stay away from the kind of people that don't deserve your energy at all, or the people that are actively allowing you to shrink and are happy with you doing so. So what I'm trying to say here is not to always be your full, complete self with just anyone and everyone, but to be still selective. And yes, there's a time and a place in which kind of withholding or like hiding makes sense. And that is when people are really not up to your standards. And then boom, you already know how to do this. We just reoriented at the right place. Good to go. Now, here's the thing. I want to finish this video with the very thing that I've been hyping up all along, which is what kind of person is attracted to someone who shrinks, to someone who doesn't want to bother anyone, shaking at the idea of voicing what they actually want to do tonight, actually standing on their boundaries and what makes them feel comfortable. Well, the kind of people that connect or that will connect with that energy are severely self-centered and do not mind you being a stepping stone, a background character, a passing, fleeting relationship, a placeholder. Those are the people that are attracted naturally to that energy of not wanting to bother anyone. And when you keep on meeting these people, they kind of convince you at first because you feel purposeful, you feel like you've done good, you have access to someone's energy that's being amplified by your lack of, and you're there thinking, woohoo, there we go, boom, got it. Finally found a match. But as time progresses, it is more and more clear that not only you don't matter, but why is it that you have needs now? Because when I met you, you were fine with just anything, and now you're starting to act this way and you're starting to behave this way. What happened to you? And then this is when we use our emotional capital in a way that depletes us, because we're arguing. We're trying to prove. We are trying to qualify ourselves. We're trying to fix things. We're trying to make it work. Because ultimately, we don't think we deserve more. Or we are just so happy that this thing finally worked that we're holding on to it for dear life, when we don't realize that if we let go, we're landing safely on a cloud and there's a bunch of other little people chilling, little angels or whatever. Just think of the nicest image you could think of right now. That's what you gain from letting go. I hope this video inspired you to reconnect with yourself. And do let me know in the comments what was your favorite part, if you related, if you didn't relate. Do check me out on Instagram and my social medias. I will be linking everything down below. My name is mashakatasonov. Feel free to check my website as well, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.